Between a deep recession, the debt doomsday, 2 wars, 3 if you count Libya, and of course the Arab Spring, it's certainly not easy being President Obama. Through crisis after crisis, the president's tried to steer a prudent course, with critics of all stripes saying he's got little to show for it. Clearly, this is one of the toughest times in history to be president, so how is Obama measuring up under history's glare? Let's ask someone who's been covering D.C. politics for decades, Washington Post assistant managing editor Bob Woodward. Bob, thanks for coming by.
Thank you.
So let's start with the obviously what's atop the news today, the debt crisis, these negotiations. You've watched this kind of stuff for a long time. How do you assess Obama in this role and our leadership in both parties?
Well, Obama's got a big problem because the expectation is the stewardship role of the president, he's going to take care of everyone. And it's really potentially kind of 10 days that shook the world. If they don't fix this, as you well know, the economic reverberations will be endless, perhaps. So even though the Republicans have immense responsibility, the president is expected to be the leader. When there was the famous government shutdown in the 90s, they blamed the Republicans, but there was no real economic impact. If this is not worked out, the economic impact is going to be giant.
And what's your gut tell you on that, just briefly? Are you optimistic or pessimistic as you look at the next couple of weeks?
Well, here's you talk to people in the Republican Party, Democratic Party, and they all talk about public service. They're public servants, and the expectation is they're going to serve the public interest. And I think the view in the country now is these people as public servants need to come together. How can you possibly let yourself be a prisoner of some ideology, of some concept of, this is the only way to do it? So maybe people are going to get mad and insist on some sort of bargain or deal. But, wow, I mean, you saw it today. They're far apart.
You're right. Let's shift gears for a second, talk about Afghanistan. The thing that's confused me or upset me, and I think a lot of folks who have questions about Afghanistan, is even after the phased withdrawal that Obama announced recently, he'll end his presidency with substantially more troops than were there when we went in, and it's very hard to see people on any side who can really define what success looks like. I know you've reported extensively on this in your books and for the Post. What do you make of it at this point?
Well, it's very, if you step back, it's very unusual what the president's done here. He said we're going to start withdrawing before the end of the war. And if you get military leaders on sodium pentothal, truth serum, and say, how do you really feel about this? They all say, okay, we'll go along because he's the commander-in-chief. They are dumbfounded that we had a strategy and an objective, namely counterinsurgency, protect the people, nation building in Afghanistan, and now we've gone to a strategy really is let's get out. So, maybe it's going to work, but it could backfire.
And do you think, because I was struck in your book, Obama's Wars, that Obama seems to manage his relationship with the military brass like a major constituency, and almost trying to triangulate, if that's not a discredited word, to sort of move toward the objective he wants that helps him, I guess, on the substance, but also with his political base, without pushing so far that some generals would feel that they needed to resign, for example, if they disagreed. Is that the right way to think about how Obama's managing this?
Well, he steers for the middle lane. He didn't want to offend the generals by adding troops, so they got most of what they wanted. But at the same time, you look at these secret meetings, which I've tried to report on, and you see Obama says, I want out. This has to be a plan to end the war. And at the same time, he escalates it. So there is, there's a deep paradox in all of this. There's a deep paradox in being president now. It is, you said it's a difficult time. I think it's a dangerous time.
Well, let's talk about the Arab Spring and the uprisings around the Arab world, because when you speak about the paradoxes of Obama's leadership, there's a big phrase that got some traction when one White House aide, I think, gave it to the New Yorker magazine on background, saying that the president in the Arab Spring was leading from behind. Is that a fair description, and is that the kind of leadership we need?
Well, no, I think what it is, I mean, it's so complicated. You know, the number of countries that are involved in this, 24. Anyone could blow up, or, you know, what's going to happen in Libya? What about Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Syria, Iraq? That war's not over. So I think Obama approaches it with kind of looks at it and says, my God, let's be careful. Let's not do anything dramatic. Let's try to be informed, get better intelligence. But, I think caution is not necessarily leading from behind, to be frank.
We just got about 30 seconds left, Bob. I got to ask you a question that occurred to me when I saw the Casey Anthony trial come down, which was, I think about your reporting from my White House days, the way you created the conversations in the room of private conversations. I'd like to read that from the Casey Anthony jury, just to understand how they did it. Do you have any advice for folks who are going to try and reconstruct that, I guess, before all the jurors run out and get book and movie deals?
I mean, talk to the people who were there, and, that's an important issue, but, we're going through a time when lots of things can go wrong, and, look at what happened in Japan. The tsunami, earthquake, all of the problems there. As soon as that happened, the focus in this country was, what's Obama going to do? Everything is on his plate.
A reminder from Bob Woodward, dangerous times, important times for this president or any president. Bob Woodward, thanks for sharing your thoughts.
Thanks.